Well, I want to speak honestly about how housing or not having it affected my mental health. I usually don't share really personal about my story. I try to stay on topic, but this seems like an intimate room. So I want to open up and start off how I entered foster care. Well, not how I entered foster care, I entered the world from foster care. So 2 weeks before my exit, I was dual supervision, which means probation and DCFS rolled over my case. My probation officer came a few weeks before my 18th birthday and put me in juvenile hall. She said, "I'm doing you a favor," which in hindsight she did. Once I got that court date, they actually released me off of probation and I was full DCFS. My social worker did not have a place to place me, so I stayed in juvenile hall until they found an emergency shelter for me. So once in that emergency shelter, I'm on probation. But I also turned 18 in a week, and on my birthday, they actually said, "Hey, unfortunately, this is a shelter for kids, and you can't be here like you're 18. So do you have anywhere for you to go?" And I was like, "No." But I remember this lady named Miss Sand, who I'm actually named after. She's my mother's foster mother, and I asked, "Can I be dropped off at her house?" For obvious reasons, she didn't let me in, and that was the start of my journey. So not having stable housing is more than just being without a place to sleep. It's meant living without safety, without grounding, and without dignity. Every night was a question mark. Where am I going to stay? Will I be safe? Who can I trust? The consistent uncertainty wore down my mental health and kept me in survival mode. Survival mode doesn't give you the space to dream or heal. It's just getting through the day. Will I eat? Will I clean myself? Will I have shelter for the night? All this while the pain just kept building up inside of me from my original trauma. So through my homeless experience, I got to witness a lot of not great things with some of my foster sisters or foster brothers. We all were in the streets. We didn't have nothing to do. Some of us did drugs. Some of us had overdoses. Some of us even are homeless with our kids. And this is a realistic situation that a lot of kids live through, and a lot of us are not aware of because it's just such a small percent. So from me looking to my left and looking to my right, I knew that it was something better, anything better than being outside. So I went to Trade Tech, Los Angeles Trade Tech, and I sat with a counselor. And I said, "Hey, I know I want to do construction. I don't know what I'm going to do." I told him what I like to do. He said, "Sounds like you want to be a carpenter." I just was going for it because, once again, I was outside. Little did I know, going to that school would change my life. I actually got connected with Guardian Scholars program, and from there they also had another program called Project Tipping Point. Well, I met a girl in Guardian Scholars, and she said, "Do you know about Project Tipping Point?" I said, "No." She walked me down there, and Project Tipping Point works with LA Room and Board, which is a program that helps kids who are in college help them get housing. So at the time, they had just signed a contract with a tree house, which is in Hollywood, and I got my first secured shared housing. I got a room to myself with 5 other roommates and a shared kitchen. From that, I'm going to school, I'm doing carpentry. We have a Slack app. I'm posting everything I'm doing in Slack. And they said, "Hey, you need to talk to Prophet. You need to talk to Prophet." And I go, "Who's Prophet?" Come to find out, Prophet was the owner of the shared living space. And I actually said, I bumped into him one day and I said, "Prophet, everybody's telling me to talk to you." And he said, "I know a young black lady who owns her own construction company, and I want, let me connect you with her." So that ended up getting me my first construction job, where I actually got to build a shared living space for people like myself. And yes, and you guys, the story gets bitter. So keep in mind, I was homeless. From homeless, I went to school. From school, I got shared housing. From that shared housing space, I met the owner of the shared housing space, and I got to get my first construction job. So after my construction job was just wrapping up, I forgot about this program that I applied for called the MC3 program. And they had a program to help you become a lead and baby technician. I don't know if you guys know, but a lot of our houses are old, they have lead on them. So it causes behavioral issues in children, respiratory problems and things along the lines of that. So I actually had to check the graces to go in and help some of these families and scrape lead off their houses. And I got to actually see a little baby be born. So I physically am saving children, right? Yeah. So I I was very grateful for that situation, and I just want to stress that how important housing was for me, because when I didn't have housing, I couldn't have a consistent job. Jack in the Box wasn't going to give me a place to stay. I'm staying in my car. I'm going to school full-time and a full-time student. That you can't show 3 times as much as rent. I don't have good credit or anything along the lines of that. So, housing is just very important just for stability. When I finally received housing, I couldn't even believe it was really mine. I was nervous in my own space, checking to make sure doors was locked, sealed, and making sure I was safe. I slept in the living room for exactly 1 month because I couldn't bring myself to feel comfortable in the bedroom down the hall. It wasn't until that day I had my very first bed that I slept through the night. How do you think that impacted my mental health? Truly, outside 7 years, and I finally get a place to myself, and I'm nervous, realistically speaking. But having housing also gave me back freedom. That freedom to take a shower whenever I needed to relax, to let my mental health rest, to wash away some of the trauma of the streets. Even something that simple reminded me I didn't have to carry it all forever. That moment, being able to rest in my own room, in my own bed, and feel safe in my own space was the beginning of healing. Stable housing didn't just give me shelter, it gave me a peace of mind, something that I had never felt before. From there, my mental health started to shift. I could now focus on tomorrow, not just today. I could begin to imagine more for my life. For me, housing was the turning point, the difference between barely surviving and finally starting to live.